Rita, tell us about World Vision and NAIDOC Week.
Well, I'd like to play you a video first, if I could, and let's just see where World Vision's priorities lie.
I think they've been really resilient, but as the schools are telling us, they're coming back very damaged. And I think one of the issues is that this disease is bringing back family trauma, re-traumatising families, thinking about the diseases which were imported into Australia in settler times, but also with the lockdown being told what to do constantly by the government and having a real fear of government.
So World Vision is trying to insert divisive, destructive racial politics into the pandemic response. I mean, it is just mind-boggling what use or what benefit they thought this activism would bring.
But can you deconstruct it for me, James? Because seriously, she's saying that the coronavirus reminds Indigenous people of viruses that were imported 250 years ago. It reminds them of it, so that's great, some kind of collective memory thing at work here. And also, oh, by the way, any authority figures, the police, etc., are by definition bad. What are World Vision up to, James?
Well, it's pretty weird and pretty strange, and I'm not really quite sure what their angle is. That whole message was very confused, but just on a couple of those things. You know, at the end there, when they're talking about the fear of government control and things like that, it almost sounded like, you know, they were going down some sort of very libertarian path like our friend we just had on the show earlier about, you know, the whole terrible lockdowns and the evil government restrictions and all the horrible things that they're trying to do to us and control. And I thought, you know, this is part of that whole sort of great coming together of the extremes of politics in this whole weird bowl of ideology right now. So, you know, we've got that. But then also, you know, like, are we talking about, you know, imported viruses? Are we going to start to see World Vision start to, you know, say, oh, well, we've got a problem with China because the virus did come from China, and you know, I'm wondering where they're going to go with all of this.
Well, Rita, I think you said they've taken that down now, didn't you? They've taken that video down now. Maybe they realised.
Well, apparently the response wasn't what they expected, and there was a couple of Indigenous leaders like Jacinta Price who pointed out just how utterly absurd and insulting that entire activism was. And, yeah, it sort of has disappeared.
Jacinta Price, amazing. Jacinta is on the Cancel Culture special tonight at 8:30. Don't miss that. Jacinta is always wonderful. Let's have a little bit of Weekly Wokely. James, the A&E network in the States, they've gone woke. They went broke, sure enough.
That's what do we always say? Go woke, go broke. So A&E, it's a cable pay TV network in the United States. They usually had about 1 million viewers, but they also had a show on there called Live PD. It was a bit like Cops. They followed police around. It was a reality show in various cities as they went about their daily or nightly rounds. And because of the whole George Floyd protests, they decided, we don't want to do anything that might, God forbid, glorify law enforcement or entertain or inform people, so we will just Orwellian style cancel it and disappear the show down the memory hole. Well, guess what else disappeared along with that show, Rowan and Rita? Half of their viewers. So they've gone from rating about 1 million viewers in the United States to 498,000. So there you go. Go woke, go half your audience.
Rita, what do you reckon?
Well, I'm not surprised, and there's a lot of others in the entertainment industry who will just want to check their wokeism. It doesn't cost them and their audience because it just seems to be unchecked in that area. But one company that doesn't want to go woke or go broke is Red Bull. They've just sacked a couple of their senior executives in the US who are pushing for the company to become far more political and get involved in racial politics and all sorts of other identity politics type agendas, and they got sacked. So Red Bull, I guess, is one of the rare companies these days that's making a stand saying, no, we're not in the business of politics. We make soft drinks, and that's what we're going to be doing.
And the Wall Street Journal have also come out and said, we are not the New York Times, and they've refused to play along to this woke nonsense, which is fantastic news. You're absolutely right, Rita, about Red Bull. And, James, we've seen Coon cheese disappear this week. I mean, how pathetic. And, you know, if people will make up their own minds what cheeses they want to buy in future.
Well, I mean, look, I'm not going to go and buy a cheese because the brand, you know, offends me or not because of some word in it. But it is really an interesting thing, isn't it, that, you know, there must be so little actual racism in this country that this activist apparently spent 20 years going to get the Canadian owner's Saputo of this cheese to finally change the name of it. I mean, like that shows just what a horrible, you know, apartheid-style society that we have, that the biggest #1 issue for this guy would be the name of a cheese. But, of course, I would also note, you know, that if people are out there looking to be offended, the same company that owns that cheese brand that's no longer the cheese that we can call it anymore also owns Cracker Barrel. So people who are offended by that term can also, I'm sure, go out and protest now because, you know, once that's done, racism solved, done, dead, buried, cremated in Australia.
Unbelievable.
Well, you've got ethnic genocide happening in China right now. You've got the slavery trade restarting in Libya. You've got all sorts of child slavery happening all around the world. And yet the activists in the West are obsessed about changing the name of cheese. I mean, you're so right. It just shows you how vacuous and empty so much of this activism is.
And also, Rita, there was a report earlier in the year, I think, from the Australian Strategic Institute, that many large brands like Nike and others they named, I think, in that report, use slave labour / forced labour from countries like China. So, I mean, the hypocrisy is staggering when you have these mob wandering around with all their virtue signalling and their Black Lives Matter posters, and their very products are exploiting people here and now in slavery.